NeckNation, welcome to another exciting podcast with NECKROOTS. I'm Kit James.
Austin Davis.
And today we're talking about divorcing our excuses.
Divorcing our excuses, Kit.
Yep.
This one made me self-reflect quite a bit. And just right off the bat, man, I've got a lot of improvement that I could do here when it comes to making excuses. And one thing I thought about was, you know, we can talk about, and we will talk about when and why we make excuses. But you know, our whole life is filled with actions and inactions, and we either do them or we don't do them.
Right.
And what it comes down to is ourselves, right? We make excuses to justify these actions,
right,
or our inactions, and we've got to do self-reflection, right? This might be a hard pill to swallow. I know for me, it's a hard pill to swallow, to sit there and make sure the finger's pointing in the right direction, which is back at me.
Yeah.
Because, dude, I'm full of excuses. All the time I'm always making excuses. But, you know, it is really important that we sit back and identify, when do we make excuses and why do we make excuses?
You know what? Everybody from every walk of life makes excuses. I don't care what their financial status is. Everybody makes excuses because it is just a really subtle, easy thing that we do, as it's just our human nature. I mean, it's something that just, it's self-justification. It's our warm blankie. It's whatever, right?
Yep.
So I think everybody from every walk of life is guilty of making excuses. But the reality is excuses sometimes become a conditioned belief, and they can hold us back, right? And I think even when you self-evaluate and you look at the excuses, I think it's really important to go, what excuses do I make, or what lies do I tell myself, just so you know.
Yeah.
Right. If you're not clear about which ones you're using the most of, right, or the mostest or whatever, guess what? You won't be able to break it down and correct that pattern, right? So it's a real good opportunity for us to reflect and then really have a hard look at it and go, oh man, how do I redirect, right?
Yeah.
As I reflect and figure this out and start making those excuses become empowering, because once we're aware, it makes it a lot easier it's that opportunity, that door that's open to make some changes.
Yeah.
So one of the words that always precedes an excuse is a but. So not only do we need to get rid of the buts, right, and implement the but, right? Say no to butts.
Kick the butts out.
Yeah, I say we say no to butts. That's better.
Say no to butts.
But you look at the divorce your excuses. When we talk about divorce, the word excuse starts with what? EX, right? You got to have an X, man. You got to get rid of some of those excuses, right? It's okay to have X's when we're divorcing our excuses, and it's okay to say no to these buts. But what are some of the buts that we use, right? Everyone uses them. But
I'm too busy.
But I'm too busy. But I don't feel qualified.
Yeah. But I don't have time.
Yeah. But it's going to be too hard, right?
Yep.
There's so many of them. But I'm overwhelmed. I mean, we can go on and on and on. But when we understand what we're really programming and telling ourselves when we use that word but, what are we giving up, right? It is a self-justification, but when we really look at it, right, what is it doing? It's prohibiting us from living the dream or living our life the way that we want to live our lives, right?
Right.
That's really the price we pay for the excuses that we make.
Yeah.
And going through this, you know, I've coached my kids and, you know, family and friends and stuff for years, right, on overcoming certain things and just being aware. And everybody that I've coached or talked to about excuses or uncovering the lies that we tell ourselves, and dude, I'm guilty of it, right? Someone say,
we all are.
Hey Kit, you got time, man? I want to come over and talk about excuses because I make too many of them. I'd be like, yeah, dude, I don't have time, right? So we use them, right?
We do.
I don't care who they are. I'm just a talking head, but I use them.
Yeah.
Right. But we just have to make sure when we do use them, we're aware, right?
Yeah.
Of what we're really programming ourselves and what's happening.
You said something really important, Kit, and that is that these excuses prevent us from achieving or living our dreams, right? And I think there's sometimes it boils down to fear at some point, right? That we're afraid to do something, and on the converse of that, you know, there's pain associated with fear. Like sometimes you don't want to do something because you've experienced this before, right? And it's made you feel a certain way, and so now your excuse is, I'm going to use my experience as my excuse as to not to do something again, right? Where it could have a potentially different outcome. So, what's your answer to that? Like, you know, I don't want to do this again because, you know, I don't want to go through the pain.
So I've heard that 100 times. That's a good question. And the reality is that pain that you went through, are you still here, Austin?
Oh, I'm still here.
But it hurt and you don't like it, right?
I don't like it.
But do you like your why? What, you know, how bad do you want it? Your why? Is your why to live your dreams or to achieve this thing or to achieve greatness or to thrive in life? Is it bigger than that pain that you went through?
I'm going to have to say yes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost 99% of the time it is, right? And so when you bring that up, so I've talked to several people about this very topic, and that's excuses or the lies that we tell ourselves and uncovering those, because it's part of a mindset. You can't build your mindset, right, until you understand what are the challenges, what are the hurdles, what's holding me back, what lies am I telling myself. You got to reprogram that first.
Yeah.
Right. And to reprogram it, you got to expose it. And so it's a healthy thing to do. So every single person would say, well, there was always something, or they say, but, and then da 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 da.
Yeah.
And it would always come down to fear. Either fear, like what you brought up, almost always. And then I could ask the question, well, what are you afraid of? Well, has that not happened to you before? Because if you've lived on this earth for 30 plus years, I don't care, 20 plus years, whatever it is, if you've lived on this earth and you've been amongst people in this world, I guarantee you've heard people talk, you're not qualified, you're not smart enough, you're not fast enough, you're not, that blouse is ugly, or your hair ain't right, or what. We've heard it all.
Yeah, it's already been said to us.
I mean, for me personally, you can't tell me anything I haven't heard. I don't give a rip. Say it again.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting there myself, man.
No, I'm there. I'm on the 5th mile on the way back. Right? So really, it doesn't matter, right? But what matters is that fear of whatever it is, that fear of embarrassment, or that fear of what they think other people think, or what they're going to say, is that bigger than our why, right?
Yeah.
That means we don't want it bad enough.
Essentially, are our excuses more important than our dreams? And
Right.
for every one of us, NeckNation, the answer to that question is no.
Right. Exactly. So, but those are the things that are holding us back, and we never think about them. We spit out the excuse. It's a self-justification. If you look up the word excuse in the dictionary, it says a form of self-justification. And that's truly what it is.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes we believe our own BS, man. I'll throw a excuse out and be like, dang, that was a good one. I'll write that down.
Yeah, me use that again later.
So, I mean, those are the things that are prohibiting us from living our best selves, our best lives, and becoming our best selves. And that's not worth giving up.
No, and I've got examples of this. Like here's how bad it is for me, and maybe other people can relate to this. But and we talked a little bit about this, but we like to go camping, me and my family.
Yeah.
Right? We went. I bought a trailer a couple years ago. I already had the truck, and we went camping. The first year we had the trailer, we went camping, several times, and we had a great time. And it was usually around riding dirt bikes and stuff like that, and going to the races, and a couple times we went with our friends. Well, it just became such a freaking burden to pull this trailer with the truck that I had that for the next 2 years, I made excuses. In 18 months or 2 years, I'd always make an excuse as to why I wasn't going to go on a camping trip. Oh, the truck doesn't pull up very well. It's too slow. It overheats, while I'm pulling it, and just always made excuses as to why, I'm too busy. There's that, but I'm too busy, right? I'm too busy to do this. I've got too much going on in my life right now. Work is requiring too much of my attention. I made all these excuses. Do you know who suffered other than me? Do you know who suffered because of these excuses? My family.
Yeah.
My family suffered. They missed out on opportunities to spend time with me and with my wife, and for us to spend time together because of my excuses. My excuses had a negative impact on other people's lives. Man, and I'm just kind of realizing that as I'm saying it right now.
Yeah.
That's a hard pill to swallow. There's one of those hard pills, NeckNation.
Yeah. You know what? There's always a sacrifice. There's always something you give up for, right? And that's the price right there.
Yeah.
And that's it for the self-justification. But can I point out in that story, you missed a huge opportunity, bro. not just to spend time with your family, make the memories, but if your truck was really overheated, you missed an opportunity to go justify buying a new truck.
Buying a new truck.
Like a long time ago.
A long time ago.
You should have jumped on that.
Which, NeckNation, I bought a new truck since then. So my wife made me promise this year. She's like, it's going in your New Year's resolution that you're buying a truck. And in her New Year's resolution, it was that she was going to make me buy a truck. So it happened.
So 100% you're going camping.
So we're going camping now.
So when you go camp and say it's the new truck, I don't want to get it dirty.
I don't want to get it dirty.
Right? That'll be an excuse. I'm going to call your wife right now and tell her, be on the watch out.
No, you slap those excuses right out of me, man. No more buts.
Yeah, exactly.
No more buts.
Say no to buts. So, bringing up excuses and just that example right there, there's so many times, for example, I love to fish, and I got a buddy that just absolutely loves to fish. He will give up the most important day at work to go fishing. Like if he's giving a presentation at work and it's critical and the client's counting on it and I call him up, I've done it just to mess around with him before and say, bro, you want to go? I heard they're ripping lips on, out in the marsh on this lake and let's get the bass boat and go. Bro, 100%, you can just hear his motor running in his head. Oh, I've got this big thing and he's talking and he's, but 100%, bro, he'll be out there.
He's going.
He's going. It don't matter.
That's awesome.
If it's his wife's birthday, he'll say, yeah, I'll get her some suntan lotion and a floaty. And yeah, okay, all right.
She'll have a good time.
So my point is one day I said to him, hey, bro, let's go do this thing. And it wasn't that much fun, right? But it was something that we kept saying we were going to do. I said, hey, let's go do this, and I've got time today. And he goes, yeah, I got time today too. And da-da-da. He's like, oh, I forgot about, and so we've never gone and done it. But I guarantee you, if I would have not said, hey, let's go, do this requalification and for our license or this other thing, which is boring, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's something that needs to be done. Instead of doing this continuing education thing, which is a sleeper, I get it.
Oh, big time.
If I would have replaced that with, bro, let's go fishing 100%, he would have had time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So time is one of those illusions that the reality is we use it all the time. But we make time for what's important, right? And our excuses, they run parallel with that, right? When we say we don't have enough time or whatever. And a lot of times we're busy, man. We got so many things going on, but we got to slow down long enough to, number one, self-evaluate, identify our excuses, the ones we commonly use. There's a lot of things that there are go-to excuses, right?
Big time.
During COVID, I probably got COVID 19 times and I've never had COVID.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just hanging out there. I had to use it.
It was an available excuse.
They're like, bro, will you fly out here and do this or that and come and do this meeting? I'm like, yo, wish I could, but guess what? Got the cove. So, there's excuses that run a parallel with, and they've got excuse has a twin sister named procrastinate, right?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
And so the thing is a lot of us that procrastinate are really good at making excuses, but guess what happens? Procrastinators are absolutely turbo, man. When it has to be done, they won't let you down. They'll slam it out, dude. They'll stay up all night.
I feel like that's myself sometimes.
But you know what's empowering about that is if you can slam something out like that, if you look at the time that you did quality work in, right? You just jammed out quality work in this short amount of time. Do you know what you could do if you got rid of the buts and divorced the excuses and really planned out your day?
And just jammed out quality work all the time instead of at the last minute.
Freaking rock star.
No kidding.
Right? I think we all have that in us too.
I think so.
So if you can bang it out last minute, think about a little bit of pre-planning, get rid of the excuses of how efficient and effective we become, not only just for the time with our family where we can just put everything aside, but also the day's work, right? What we get done, the efficiency. And you know what it does? It starts to program. You start feeling better about yourself because you've given 100% and you were efficient in doing it.
Yeah. And
anytime you put something off, man, it weighs on you.
It does.
That put off gets a little heavier and a little heavier. So.
Right. And these are justifications. These are to justify our inaction, right? These excuses we use so that we don't have to take action.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know about you, NeckNation, but sometimes you think, hey, this little excuse here or there, it's not that big of a deal. But when you boil it down to what it really layers, you brought up fear and pain. Well, pain's buried on the other side of fear. Right?
Yeah.
They're right there together in the same cemetery. They really
absolutely,
are.
Yep.
And it's really easy to grab onto those excuses. And sometimes our excuses are justifiable because a mother that wants to be a good mother, hey, you should go exercise or go do this or go do that. Well, I don't have time because she wants to be there for her kids. And when I was helping this one mother, I wrote down what her main go-tos were. And she's like, I go, what's important to you? I want to be the best mother possible for my kids. Great, wrote that down. Well, when we were talking about excuses and uncovering lies, I said, well, don't you brought this up at this time on this day. Don't you think being physically like able to enjoy your kids and be there for your kids is also part of being? And she's like, yeah,
Being a good mother.
yeah, it is. And I said, okay, well, you said that.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, when you uncover those things and you bring those things up and you can say it out loud, then guess what? There's no more barrier.
Yeah.
So identify your excuses and look at them. And these little excuses that we don't think are a big deal, they really are. And the only way I can really say it is, a small rudder guides a big ship. And
Yeah.
and that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
We got this big airplane out there too. Flaps, those small flaps, just small
Small
movements
flaps.
on those flaps will take you down or take you up, right?
Yep. Change your whole direction.
Yeah.
Course correction.
Every single day. The other thing that I think is very helpful to remember is there's a saying that goes, as goes our days, so goes our lives.
Oh, I believe that 100%.
So if your day goes like this, whatever it is, right? Take a good hard look at each day or today. And your life is made up of a bunch of days.
That's it. And we count them. We count them by days.
Right. So if you're on this earth for this many days, and that's the measure of your life. So if you want your life to be different, pay attention to how your day goes. And so sometimes in my head, I'll say, I'm going to look at this 24-hour period as my entire life. What am I going to accomplish today? I mean, not like you're going to die tomorrow because,
Yeah.
you're not going to go start checking off bucket lists every hour during the day. I'm just saying, as goes our days, so goes our lives. It's a very powerful thing to think about when you compartmentalize it and break it down to each day. Because if you live each day life like it's your entire life, like that's your lifetime during that day from that sun up to sundown or whatever, guess what, man? When you get to the end of your life, you're going to realize, man, I accomplished a lot. I lived. Right.
Yeah.
I thrived in life, man. I unlocked this and I enjoyed, and I got no regrets or whatever. Right.
Right.
And if you're in a spot, NeckNation, where you're struggling, where you're like, dude, I can't even look at a full day. Like I can barely pull my head up, because we've all had those times too.
Yeah.
Then look at that hour that you're living in right now as your day, as your life, right? Your full life. Take that hour, break it down that far if you need to, and say, this hour I'm going to look at like it's my whole life, and I'm going to change this hour. And then you just change the next hour. Then you will change your days, right? Then you'll change the next day. Then you'll change your weeks, your months, your years, and you'll change your life,
Yeah.
right? And so just remember that small rudders guide big ships, and through some of the most turbulent times too, right? That's their design, and we need to remember that.
You said something that just made me think of, you said the word change, right? Change, it'll lead to change. So realistically, getting rid of our excuses, kicking out of the excuses will help us lead to change, right? In fact, getting rid of excuses does lead to change.
Yeah.
It's a change itself,
Yep.
but it creates opportunities for more change within our lives if we get rid of our excuses. And I was thinking about this, Kit. Sometimes, I mean, there's excuses that we give other people and we miss out on opportunities. And we talked about missing out on opportunities, but maybe there's something better that you would rather do with your time. And you've got to give somebody an excuse to get out of that because you don't want to hurt their feelings or whatever it is, or something like that. So maybe there are instances where it's okay to use excuses, but the person that we shouldn't be using excuses with under any circumstance, is us.
You're right. And that's the easiest person to use it on.
For sure.
Because believe it or not, you're telling yourself, right? So it don't matter.
Yeah.
Right? Until you come to the day where you get real and you call yourself out on that excuse.
Yeah.
Right?
Until you've lived your life and you're nothing but a bunch of excuses and no experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So breaking it down like that is super important. Uncovering our lies, uncovering our all the excuses that we tell ourselves, and that's really what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because it's okay. I'm still going to use I got COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, it might happen. You know what I mean?
It could.
So there's a story about that goes along with excuses, right? Is it story time?
It's story time, brother.
Freak, yeah, it's always story time. So this story, there's a king that's in charge of this kingdom, and there's this path that's heavily traveled, right, by all the townspeople in the township. They're always going in and out of town and outside the kingdom walls. Well, one day the king was bored, right? He's wealthy and bored, and he just wanted to see how loyal his followers and the people that served him in his cabinet, his higher ups. He wanted to see which one of them would serve him without being told, so to speak. So he goes at the top of this path, right outside the kingdom, right where you kind of come up the hill and it bends and makes a little turn and goes down into the walls, right?
Okay.
And there's some bushes right there, and so he puts this big boulder in the middle of right in the middle of the main highway, right? And made sure it was a very inconvenient place and a very big boulder. And then he hid behind the bushes and he watched. And here comes his cabinets and his servants and his higher up, his royalty, if you will. And they're talking and having a good time, and they bump into this boulder and they're like, frig, dude, what's the deal with the king? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is he running a program like this? Doesn't he know he's got to keep this road clear? This is our main thoroughfare. This is where we travel.
Yeah.
And so the cabinet guys, there's 4 or 5 of them, they're talking amongst themselves like, dude, should we move it? No, we ain't got time for that. We got to serve the king. We got responsibility. We got things to do, right? We got to motor on into the walls and do whatever we got to do. And so they motored on, and here came some other townspeople. Same
deal.
Yeah. So this happens a few times, and then here comes this poor peasant, right, that just went into the town next to him to get some fresh vegetables because they were cheaper, and she doesn't have a lot of money, and she comes up on this boulder, and she sits there, and she looks at it for a minute. She doesn't say anything, and, she thinks to herself, man, this is really inconvenient. I'm sure if the king or the royalty or the cabinet or the people that served him was aware of this and how inconvenient this was, they would have been out here and moved it, and she didn't see anybody around, right? So she puts her humble vegetables and her bag down, her meager bag. She puts it down. She starts pushing on this rock, and dude, she can't move it. So she worked at it for a minute, and finally she got enough momentum, got it up on its edge, and got it up out of the way. And when she turned around, and she struggled greatly with it, right?
Sure.
And so when she turned around and kind of looked and said, okay, good, I cleared the path. That's good. She feels good, right?
Yeah.
And she goes to pick up her vegetables, and there's a satchel there that has gold in it. And she looks around, and she's like, is somebody here, because that's more money than she's seen in her lifetime.
No kidding.
And so the king comes out of the bushes, and he says, I just want to thank you. I just put this here to see what different people and different levels and what some of the people that, are in service to me and some of my royals and my loyals, and see what they would do. And this was very good, and they made excuses, and I just want to commend you and reward you on not making an excuse and taking care of something that you saw needed to be taken care of without being asked, and you didn't make any excuses, and you just did it.
Yeah.
And so this is your reward, and I thank you for that. And so can you imagine? I mean, that probably changed her life, right?
No kidding.
Not just the compliment, but the gold that accompanied that reward. So
Yep.
I look at the excuses that we make, and I just, man, there's a dynamic lateral to what are we giving up, right? What is our thrive for life and our reward? What reward are we really truly giving up to live our dreams and to live our best version of ourselves for some of these excuses of what would they think or what would they do, or these fears that we have and channel. So, I mean, it's really when we sit down and think about those fears and those excuses, and we look at how bad do we want this life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, right?
What's more important?
Yeah, we can start nipping the butt in the butts.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. So let's do that, Neck Nation. Let's do a self-evaluation. When do we tell ourselves excuses? Why do we use them? And when do we use them? And then once we've identified that, let's get rid of these excuses that we tell ourselves so that we don't have to miss out on opportunities anymore. I know I've got to do better at this, Kit, so I'm going to make a commitment right now. Yep. I'm going to make a commitment right now to stop using these excuses and missing out on opportunities and experiences. So you do the same, Neck Nation. If you like the content, if you like what you heard today, be sure to like and subscribe to the video. The more that you like and subscribe, the more people we can reach. I can't tell you how important that is. Also, if you're into the gear that we're wearing, the hats and the t-shirts, you can go to NECKROOTS.com. Get yourself plugged into the NeckNation power station while you're there, and if you want to, check out some of this cool neck gear. We got some good stuff on there. Also, follow us on social media. We got Instagram, we got Facebook. I think we're on TikTok too. We've got a few things on TikTok. If you want to see behind the scenes of what it takes to do this podcast, and Kit and I's pre and post sessions here before and after the podcast, take a look at the TikTok. But for now, we'll leave you with that, and bless up, Neck Nation.
Bless up.